Hi, we're back with the 6.5, and we are talking cloud security with Google. Gosh, Dan, it's great to see you. I feel like we're just popping all over the world, and it's great to get back in the seat here and talk with some great content. And it's crazy. Security. We always say is important as long as I've been in this industry, but it just keeps getting more important as the threats rise. But it's great to see you, buddy.
Yeah, I think what's happening is we are in an era of generative synthetic data exponential growth. Companies are trying to traverse borders. They're trying to do business all over the world. They're running more applications than ever before. And of course, in the era of the 2020s and beyond, we've now implemented a whole lot of bring your own device and multiple device. And I think with all these things kind of happening at once, it's created a whole new set of challenges for businesses. And by the way, Pat, don't underestimate the pressure that boards and CEOs are putting on IT departments now
Exactly.
that they know they're only one breach away from some serious damage. And this can be short term and monetary, and this can also be long term in reputation.
That's right. Boards of directors are now being held to account, and I think we just saw a CISO as well that there's scrutiny on. But with that, let's introduce our guest from Google Cloud. Jeff, it's great to see you. Welcome to the 6.5. First time here, and hopefully not the last.
Exactly. Long time listener, first time caller. So good to meet you, Dan and Pat.
Oh, that's nice.
Really appreciate you joining us, and you've joined an esteemed group of very thoughtful people that we bring on to these episodes. Insiders on the road, and now it's just gotten a little bit better, Jeff. So, listen, give us a little bit of a backgrounder. Talk about kind of Google Cloud Security's overall approach to security, intelligence, SecOps, cloud. Give us the whole kind of picture in a nutshell.
All right. Yeah, the shooting match. So when I think about it, we're focused really in three big areas. So one is on the intelligence side. And one of the beauties about being Google is we see lots of the internet traffic, and that intelligence got a lot better with the acquisition of Mandiant. And so I think we have this really unique visibility into the latest breaches, what the most sophisticated attackers are doing. And so that's like a core of like, how do we take that threat intelligence and weave it across? And we really kind of focus on two places to then bring that into. So one's in the security operations space. It's just been an area that we've been really active in terms of acquisitions. Chronicle's kind of the core platform there. And we've been spending the last few years bringing in SIM functionality, integrating some of the Mandiant capabilities on that side. And then the last one's really just kind of core cloud security. So one of the big focuses for us is how do we make sure that Google Cloud is the most trusted cloud platform. And so a lot of the time that we spend is on foundational platform capabilities around how do we make sure that as customers bring their workloads and data to the cloud, that they're really, really well protected. And then I think that the big thing over the past year or so has been then you're taking AI and infusing that across each of those areas.
Yeah, it was interesting for years. People, were saying, "Oh my gosh, the cloud, we can't go there. It's not secure." And then, as the nation state budgets, as ransomware as a service, hacking as a service, I don't hear CISOs or quite frankly, many people in IT saying the cloud isn't secure. It takes huge budgets to make that work. One of the things that Dan and I and our companies have been covering, obviously, is generative AI, right? I mean, and yes, we know it wasn't invented 9 months ago. Google, I actually had some of the seminal papers on it years ago, but we've seen generative AI as looked through what is the business benefit, the efficiencies that it can provide, closer proximity with our customers to be able to drive our revenue. But can you talk a little bit about what's not being talked about enough, I think, is what does it mean from a security point of view? It's almost like as if the hackers utilize machine learning, AI, machine learning, deep learning, and even generative AI there have to be different types of defenses to come in and combat that.
Yeah, look, we're in a really interesting time of anyone building enterprise infrastructure, even just technology products. I think the application of generative AI, both on the attacker side and the defender side, is actually something that's really, we're in a very interesting point in time. Having done this for more than 2 decades, I'm very excited about the application of it in both frames. And so the way I think about it is, I think it's early to understand kind of the attacker view.
Right.
Look, they're I would say, they're businesses essentially, at least outside of the nation state. And so, they'll look at this as, how can this make them more efficient in the types of attacks they can perpetrate? Can they be better at things like spear phishing, et cetera? But we've also spent a lot of time on how we can utilize it from a defender perspective. And I'm really excited about that. And kind of three big categories that we see the utilization of it. So one is around threats. It's not going to stop 0 days, but can we use generative AI? We talk about, can we stop patient one? So patient zero happens, but how can we quickly understand what's going on and then inoculate the rest of our customers' environments with that knowledge, with that intelligence, and using generative AI to really make that happen quickly. Second is just around the toil. Unfortunately, cybersecurity folks spend a lot of time day to day doing reasonably repetitive tasks.
And they can't respond to literally a fraction of the percent
100%.
of the alerts.
Exactly. So how do you find the needle in the haystack, reduce just the stuff that needs to be done, but it's things that can be automated. And we're finding in certain cases, generative AI is really, really good at that. And then last one's around talent. I've never met a CISO that says, hey, I've got all the talent I need in the security space, and it's easy to retain folks, et cetera. So, how can we use generative AI to allow, less senior cybersecurity, analysts do more and more up, higher level jobs, and then a lot of the more senior ones really focus on the things that are most important. So those are kind of like at least the themes that we're really focused on, and we're getting really good resonance in terms of the use cases we're building out with our customers.
Yeah, T cubed. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Toil, we do like our alliteration occasionally. So
no, I like it. I might lift it and use it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll give you attribution.
Thank you.
So, Jeff, I mean, generative AI and the scale of this certainly is being implemented and delivered a lot faster than it can be possibly secured. I mean, you'll argue that.
I'll argue that. Yeah, we can discuss.
Let's talk about that. But this is where I want to go, because what I guess I'm saying is, the problem with a lot of the times is every time we come up with great technology to secure, there's someone on the other side. And that's why this has sort of always been a cat and mouse.
Spy versus spy.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm happy to be proven wrong that we can completely bottle in the generative AI threat, but I think we know by the number of breaches that are going to take place. In your case, hopefully I'm not on Google Cloud. That there's always going to be risk. There's always going to be risk of penetration.
And the new surface area, new control that folks are going to try to bypass. Yeah,
it's substantial. And while the generative stuff is cool and it's fun and it's interesting and it's definitely going to change the calculus for how this is done, SecOps is probably quietly one of the big winners of not just of what security is concerned about, but also of utilization of AI. Right. Yeah. Because it's not always about this, really futuristic generative capabilities, which is becoming more and more not future and now, but it's also about the ability to quickly decipher from hundreds, thousands or more of real threats, getting down to the very few, figuring out what work streams can be automated. So you made a lot of progress in this area, Chronicle with the integration of Mandiant is a good, for instance. Give us a little bit of an update as it relates to, the security ops strategy, because I think this, coupled with observability, are a couple of the trends that have really gotten momentum this year. And Google's got a role to play here, it seems.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, look, you kind of talked about all the data. The nice thing about security operations is in a lot of ways, it's a big data problem. And so you think about, how do you index, search, vast amount of data. We're pretty good at Google at that like foundational element. And that's one of the things I think it's really allowed us to make a lot of progress in this space is that at the core level, we've got a set of technologies that are just really, really well suited for doing, looking at large amounts of data, like very, very high scale, very, very quickly, with a really like amazing economic value on top of that in terms of the price point that we can deliver this capability relative to other, older technologies in the market. And so, for me, what if I think through kind of this, we started, with this kind of core capability set, and around, how do we ingest, index, search, etc. The next steps have really been around how do we then start bringing, I talked about threat intelligence at the beginning, how do we start to infuse the threat intelligence, the visibility that we have? And this is where Mandiant's so exciting. The fact that they get really the newest, freshest TTPs, attacker behaviors, etc. And then really beginning to infuse that capability set into our core security operations platform, Chronicle. And so that does a really set of amazing things just in terms of taking it away from customers. I think one of the things I always struggle with is historically it's been very much kind of a do-it-yourself type model. You get a SIM, you write your queries and rules, and you're kind of orchestrating a lot of that. What we want to do is how do we infuse the intelligence that Google and Mandiant have in that platform? And yeah, of course, customers can take that and continue to extend, but at least as a baseline, how can we bring a lot of those capabilities on top of that? And then, in addition to that, then we have all the abilities around how do we automate response? And so we bought a SOAR tool that we've done an amazing job, I think, of integrating that in and really almost kind of changing the way that you operate in a modern security operations. It's really about, hey, all these things, the platform's found all these things thanks to our threat intelligence, thanks to our scale, et cetera. Then it's really about how can we help you remediate that as quickly as possible. And so, I'm really excited at the traction we've been able to get. And one of the things that we're seeing, an example of, I think, kind of all the different pieces pulling together is this capability we call Cyber Shield. We talked about it earlier this fall at Next, and this kind of brings together all the pieces of what we've been doing. So, we're doing is we're going into large governments, and you think about a typical government, lots of different departments, varying levels of security expertise across all of those. And so we bring in Chronicle. It's really proven to be the only tool that scales to, you can think of a government that has all these different, different, here's the Defense Department and the Treasury and, home, the healthcare systems, et cetera. So it scales to that, infuses the Mandiant technology. So we bring in Mandiant services as part of that to help them upscale, and really kind of brings a overall solution that combines kind of the best aspects of what we have across all of Google in there.
No, I love that. And I got to tell you, my firm, wrote about Mandiant and Chronicle, and
yeah,
Google doesn't make a lot of acquisitions, but when it does, you make them count. It's been good to see.
Yeah, that's a good example though too. Just kind of the speed at which we've been able to do things. Like breach analytics, which was, hey, Mandiant sees a new thing during one of their breach investigations. We've integrated that into Chronicle, so now in less than half an hour, if they identify a new IOC as part of a breach response, we are now able to then, every Chronicle customer running Mandiant Breach Analytics is now protected from that. So, yeah. Sorry.
So, I know that I don't need to relay your own company history back to you, but Google has been doing this cloud thing for a long time. And hey, you happen to work for Google Cloud. And before it was cloud, it was web in 1998. We didn't call it the cloud then.
Yeah.
But we really haven't talked a whole lot about the cloud. I mean, I know the services you've talked about are in the context of cloud services that you're offering it. But let's talk about cloud. How does security specifically relate to the cloud, and I think that might be in
Yeah.
deference to on-prem or the edge or devices or things like that.
Yeah, no, happy to. It was interesting. Earlier, you were in the intro, you're talking about folks moving to cloud and like the thinking about the security. One of the great things I we are able to invest in security to protect Google Cloud and frankly Google, like the same investments we're making.
Exactly. And I was going to say, like, nobody, you don't talk enough about that. You literally have planet scale capabilities here. And I understand why that's not the first thing out of your mouth, because you want to, it's important. They know you're all about enterprise, but you have to get just a ton of experience and know-how from what's going on with all the other parts of Google.
Yeah, and the fact that we're attacked constantly, and so
yes,
and that's where I think we've crossed this bridge where cloud is now fundamentally safer than on-prem, because we build our own security chips, we build all our own hardware. Like we are able to invest in a level of security that no sane regular organization would be able to do so, and we can do that because it's all things we need to do to protect Google and all of our Google Cloud customers. So the way that we can amortize the economies of scale of cloud, I think, are really interesting. And so that's kind of step one. Step two is a lot of this has been, how do we change the dynamic of the responsibility that customers bear when they move to the cloud around securing their environment versus what we bear. And so
yeah,
a lot of our effort has been, how do we move the Google responsibility higher and higher? And look, you get that from using managed services, the fact that we deliver all our products as software as a service. We've spent a lot of time around how do we ensure by default these services come out of the gate configured with like what we think are best practices from a security perspective. On top of that, we've leveraged our security command center functionality, which helps. It does like the standard things in terms of posture management and making sure you don't have bad misconfigurations. But because we operate on Google Cloud, like we are cloning the memory running in our VMs to then be able to go and search for crypto mining, rootkits, bootkits, etc. Because we didn't want to slow it. We don't want to put an agent and slow down the VM. And we're uniquely positioned to be able to have that visibility and create that type of environment to protect our Google Cloud customers. And no attacker can disable it. Like there's no agent to disable. And so like we're able to do things that are like unique in terms of how we help protect customers that are running on Google Cloud that no third party can. And so that type of stuff, we rolled out this attack path simulation capability mid-year, and we're multiple times a day computing like let's say you come up with a finding, here's a vulnerability or misconfiguration. We talked about like how many alerts and all the number of things that we tell our customers to do better, and the list is too long. And so we use that to understand which of those is the most, provides the easiest path for an attacker to go to get to core data or resources within your environment. And we use that to declare what we call an attack exposure score that helps customers prioritize what they're doing. And then on top of that, we're doing all the generative AI stuff. And, I think the interesting thing there is, we started, and I talked about, the TTT, threats, toil, and talent. Because we're on Google, we have our own. Google builds TPUs. We have our own. We've done all this work on large language models. We have Vertex AI in the model garden. So, like all of that, we can build on top of that just as a starting point. And then what we realized is the large language models don't do as well from a security specific types of things. And so we actually did training to create our own version of a large language model that's been trained on security data, mandiant threat intelligence, virus total intelligence, chronicle data, et cetera. Not using any customer data, but like all the other things that we have within Google. And so those are all the types of things that we can bring to bear to customers that are running on Google Cloud. And you're going to see in the not too distant future some of this coming to other clouds as well.
And I think you just very nicely did a bit of a rundown of the differentiation, and one of the keys being Google's Google Cloud's provenance plus Google Cloud security
Yeah.
provides a very robust set of solutions based on the number one customer being Google. And so I always think that's a tremendous story, is when you say, we trust this technology so much, we would run our own business on it.
Yeah.
So
This is how we protect ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, I want to thank you so much for taking some time here with Patrick and I on the 6-5. It's been great sitting down. Thanks for running us through all that.
No, my pleasure. Thanks so much, Dan, Pat.
All right, everybody, hit that subscribe button and check out all the episodes that we've done across the Google Cloud team and across the 6-5 landscape. But for this episode and for Patrick and myself, we've got to say goodbye. See y'all later.